Yeah, like, well, I appreciate you joining me, and I know it's a topic that we talked about a little bit, and about what are we thankful for as collectors? Because I think as we talk about the hobby, a lot of negativity, a lot of things that people talk about a lot on YouTube is negative things, but what's to be thankful about as being a collector? What are you thankful for this year? Like cards that you've been able to get, people you're able to meet, situations that made you feel thankful as a collector. So yeah, so Doug, like I know you've got some things you wanted to go through, and I definitely have things I want to go through. So I'll let you kind of lead it off here.
Okay. Well, we talked about this idea a few days ago, and it's been weighing heavy on me. And at first, I was just going to do a couple small, lighthearted things, and then I got thinking about it. In midst of all the stuff that's been going on in our hobby lately, like shilling, how comps are affected by shilling, grading companies, inconsistent grading, high prices of cards. It's just a lot of negativity on YouTube, in the YouTube community. That's I thought was real important, and I didn't want to mess it up, so I'm going to just be reading it off my paper here. None of these that we just talked about, the shilling, the comps, grading inconsistencies, none of this is new problems, and they've all been around in our hobby for a long time. But I hate to see issues that will detour or put us a sour mouth in our collection, as they will always be an issue as long as we are looking at the monetary value of our cards. We need to take a look at how we hobby, and get back to how we started collecting. For me, it's about the joy of the hunt, the players and their history, and finding beautiful and unique cards for scarce sets. And this is my modern day way of making myself happy as a collector. When faced with these ongoing issues in our hobby, I prefer not to concentrate on the negative parts of our hobby, but be very thankful for the positives that we have, which brings us to what we came on air for, and that's to air out what we're thankful for. One of the things I'm really thankful for is the time that I grew up in the hobby. I started collecting in the late 60s, and the first probably 15 years of collecting, we didn't have price guides. We didn't concentrate on value of cards, and it was all about getting the cards that we wanted by collecting the players that we liked or the teams that we liked. And there was trading. There was no really any value attached to the card, which was really nice. The big card shows that we attend, we have programs like BCP and Card Ladder that help us determine how much of it we feel that we should pay for a card. So both ways, you look at it as the advantage of not having these things, but in the future, over the last 15, 20 years, I think the advancement of all these have helped us as a collector also. I just think that we just need not look at it as always look at your cards as monetary value, and it's a hobby, and it's supposed to be enjoyed. And you just got to find your niche in the hobby and make sure that you're not looking at all the negatives out there, because these negatives that are in the hobby aren't anything new. They've been around forever. They're going to continue to be around. We just can't get out of our routine of how we like to collect. And I just thought it was real important right now to state that. and because I see a lot of negativity on YouTube right now concerning those things.
Well, I agree, Doug. I mean, I think that is the number one thing for me is, you know, collecting, right? And to actually do something that's deeply personal to a lot of, you mentioned the things that you collect for, not always about money. And I think if it is about money, I think the idea of like, if it's all financial, then it's not really collecting. I think you call it something else, but it's not
Right.
truly collecting. I think, so I think you have to look at it in those terms of a lot of what people are really worried about in the hobby isn't around collecting. It's around the monetary value and how we either increase the value or decrease the value depending on the issue. Like, there's no wrong way to do it, but there is probably one way or something that you can collect a certain way that makes you happiest, and sometimes that's not always tied to the monetary gains of your collection.
Right.
Because you can collect a lot of things that don't really have a lot of tremendous value, but they can make you very happy. I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. I think you can be very happy collecting things that have very little monetary value or extreme monetary value. But to me, the joy part could be the exact same. Like, there is no cap on how much fun you can have collecting something based on its monetary value.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah.
So like this year, for me, the thing I kind of pushed on and sort of why I started a YouTube channel, sort of what has driven me is the idea of connecting, with collectors. I'm normally not very let's say outgoing as a person, so it's like this allows me to kind of connect with people and have an outlet to communicate and be part of a community. Outside of that, I'm very insular. I don't really, I'd rather stay at home. I'm not a person that goes out and hangs around with a lot of people very easily. So I think it helps with my that part of my personality. So I think collecting helps me become out of my shell a little bit, and also gives me an excuse or gives me a reason to be social with people that otherwise I could, I wouldn't have probably engaged in things like YouTube or created things that I've done without collecting. I think I would have had no real outlet or reason to do it. So there's other things to it than just the objects that you're collecting. There's that community. There is the mental health aspect of being in a community, having people you can talk to, creating friendships. I think we've all met people like Doug. We've met other people we've met along the way, and those friendships are sometimes more important than what you collect. I mean, there's a lot of times we go to card shows where you may not even find a card you like, but you can still have a lot of fun by just hanging out with friends, seeing what they're picking up. And it's like you can live through them a little bit too, and it's like a community thing. And I think that part's underrated.
Telling you before we started airing that I went to the Chicago Sports Spectacular and met some other YouTubers up there, and I just had a great time. I didn't buy but one card, and but I showed a bunch of guys some cards that I thought were really good deals and talked them into making sure that they got it in their collection. We spent Jason, Everyday Card Collector, Brad's Vintage, and then I Mitchell, White Sox Collector. We met him up there. There was a few others, and then we went to a local bar afterwards and had a couple drinks and talked and geeked out on baseball cards. So
that stuff drives a hobby, not just all monetary.
Right, I totally agree. Another one that I had written down was I just wanted to say that I've been married for 40 plus years, and I've had a really supportive wife. There's been times, like I said, I've collected since I was 8 years old. I've stopped momentarily for a few months, maybe a year at a time over that period. But for the last, 50 something years, I've been collecting. And I've just had a really supportive wife. Now, don't get me wrong, she could care less about the cards. She likes that I'm excited about the cards. And that's why, for so long I was in my own little bubble, and, I enjoyed it. And it was my personal hobby. We really didn't have, the social media aspect of it, and able to share with other people. Like I said, the first 15 years that I collected, well, I never really went into any card shows. There was hardly any card shows here in Indianapolis. So you really couldn't meet people that way. I remember writing a letter to, I don't remember the gentleman's name, and we talked a little bit like a pen pal through Trader Speaks back in the 70s. But that's about as close as I got to, socializing. So like I said, I was really grateful for, card shops, social media, eBay, all the nice auction houses. Although you do have to put up with some shenanigans that go on, but as long as you're willing to, stuff is shilled, and there's no way that you can get around it. And I think I heard somewhere, I think it was Jeremy Lee said on his program that, every price has a little shill in it, which is probably, really accurate. But as long as you're comfortable and you set a limit for yourself on what you want to pay for a card, because, really comps are really out the door on the kind of stuff that I collect anyway. I like scare stuff that you don't see very often. And it doesn't sell very often. So, like I said, comps just pretty much go right out the door anyway. So I just, I have some disposable income, and I just have to decide for myself what I'm willing to pay for a card. And then, you just can't get caught up in these fierce bidding wars, because you don't really know who you're bidding against. You don't know if you're bidding against a corporation or a collector. So, you just got to set your limits and let it roll.
Well, I think that's the one thing that's hard as a collector. Right? I think right now, for me, I would say there's a blackout period when I collect. Like, between November through, let's say, February, I don't really make big purchases. It's kind of a blackout period for me. It's the time where I'm paying like college tuition and taxes, and then all this stuff happens all this, one time. So it's like, to me, it's like, okay, well, Christmas time, it's like that collecting takes a backseat. Other things take a priority. And then, but it's hard, right? You're seeing all these items come up for bid. Christmas time, like a lot of times things go cheaper, during the holiday season. It's a very well-known phenomenon on eBay where things go cheaper. People are trying to generate some extra cash, so maybe some things pop up more often that you were unexpected. That, oh my gosh, this thing's now on eBay. I really want it, but and I think that's hard. I think the hardest thing in collecting, I think, is having patience, and also sticking with your budget, sticking with your goals, like not creeping. So I think this year, one of the things I am thankful for is I stuck to my collecting goals a lot harder than normal. And I made a lot of really tough choices, like selling cards that I really loved, but needed to generate the income to invest in other areas I wanted to grow my collection in. Organizing, I've spent an agonizing amount of time organizing my collection, which a lot of people don't. My comic book site is, half of what I collect is comic books. I don't talk about them that much on my channel, but it's like they take a lot of space, and you have to organize them, and just all the organization piece. So I've been trying to be more less open, or I say crazy with going out and just buying something because I think it looks cool. I'm again, I think the thing that's really fun for me this year was, being in some of the communities online, Facebook, whatever, has allowed me to get opportunities to be part of deals I never would have been part of ever before. And yeah, like I felt like there was just opportunity to buy or be part of transactions that 2 or 3 years ago I never would have even been a part or even thought of, in terms of, hey, maybe this guy would want to be here to buy this card, And the National was a good example of that. It was a lot of those cards I bought were from from collectors walking around, not dealers. And
Exactly.
you do have to have some level of connections in the hobby sometimes to make certain deals happen. I think if you really look at, I think you'd agree, is that majority of the big collections that people have that are really cool collections, a lot of that was done through connections with other collectors and dealers. Like, it wasn't done through auction houses, and like, yeah, I'm sure some of it was done through normal transactions and normal, areas of transaction. But a lot of the stuff that people buy and sell, that's this really hard to get stuff that you're like, where'd you get that? A lot of that comes from just other collectors and other people in the hobby that just reach out and say, hey, I know you collect this person. I know you're a Joe Wood collector. Would you be interested in buying this item?
Yeah.
That's the part of the hobby, and that's the cool part of the hobby that people don't really take into account, is like, oh, yeah, like having people who like you and who think of you in terms
I'm
of.
very grateful for that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, I think, um, we're all better off, like, if we have strong community connections and treat each other the way we want to be treated.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier that it's not perfect. There are people out there looking to take advantage, and they worm themselves into some of these communities as well. And it's like, that's the hard part about being in society today, is someone always ruins it for everyone. And,
Sure.
someone always tries to, take advantage of people. And I'm not very thankful for that, but I do feel like, when things like that happen, though, these communities, you see them all rally around. Like, if someone gets ripped off, if someone loses their cards, like someone gets a card stolen, that community really bands together and helps that person. I think that shows just how cool this hobby is, and it makes it fun to be around.
Right. There's strength in numbers. Definitely.
There is. And how many times have we all reached out to other collectors and say, hey, what do you think about this card? Or do you think this is a good deal? Do you think this card's trimmed? I mean, how many questions we ask each other, and that's awesome. That makes it so much more, and you feel safer, right? You feel like, okay, I've got some good opinions here from some really seasoned guys, and so I'm not going to get ripped off.
Involved with the YouTube community, my friends list has exponentially grown. I'm in text messages and chat groups and discourses, and I like the community because like you said, I have people text or email me all the time and say, hey, look, I'm getting ready to bid on this card. I just want to make sure that I'm not stepping on your toes. It's a Joe Wood card. Now, most of the time, and I find that awesome, that somebody would know that my passion for Joe Wood, and they know that their passion for what they collect is the same, and they don't want to step on my toes. They want to give somebody first dibs at a card that they might not have. Unfortunately, at this point in my collecting, most of the time I already have the Joe Wood card, but I just think it's awesome that somebody won't even try to bid on it until they get a hold of me and ask me, hey, do you have this? Do you mind if I bid on this? So that's just a community that we have.
Yeah, no, that is also what um it also shows too just how small the community really is, right? That we all kind of like know who the players are in certain cards, certain sets, to where this idea that this hobby is this massive, like millions of people hobby, and sometimes
Yeah,
it boils down to like 10 or 15 people who drive a whole set registry or who drive, a certain part of this hobby. Um, and I do feel like it's a lot smaller. Once you get to know who these people are, you find out, oh, a lot of them are really nice, fun to be
right.
around, cool people, and they actually like to talk too. And I've only met a few collectors that I would view as being ultra difficult, or arrogant or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Because a lot of them want to talk about the collection. They want to talk about the cards. They want to talk about why they collect and and cards they bought. And so it's like
Right.
it's very rare for me to run into someone who's like a collector who doesn't want to share or talk about what they've done.
Their natural passion just automatically comes out when you
Oh
talk
yeah.
about cards. Yeah.
Uh, so what cards that I know that this year that you've been really thankful for trying to for getting off your list, or getting into your collection this year? Like, what's your top ones this year you want to kind of show? Like, these are the ones I'm really thankful for getting.
Well, I always revert back to the video that we did earlier in the season. I think it was in January or
Yep.
February, and we kind of set our goals for the year, what we thought we could accomplish. And one of my big goals was I had a couple key cards from the T207 Boston Red Sox team
Yeah.
set. I think I had the Joe Wood and a few other lesser players, and I thought it would just be a neat project to work on. And I sent you over a photo. I've been working on that real hard this year, and of the 18 card team set, I'm sitting on 16 right now. And
Whoa.
yeah, so I only have two more cards to complete the team set. So I'm really happy about that project and thankful. I've had a lot of help
Oh,
from the community on that one too.
um,
There was one auction this year that somebody split up their T207 set, and I was really fortunate to get like 10. No, I think it was 9 cards all in one auction. So
I remember
uh,
that. I remember like we were at the we were in Strongsville, and wasn't there a preview for those cards? And
yes,
that
yeah, I
yeah, that was
was truly excited. Yeah,
for me, it's like when I look at your cards, like when I see like um, you know, oops, cards like this that you pick up, you're always buying really nice eye appeal cards. Um,
I
you know,
try.
and you're really good at picking out, just some of these cards here that I've looked at. It's like, I know people would say you're picky, but I think you have a good eye. I remember when you picked up this Honus Wagner, um,
Hey, got that at Strongsville.
got at Strongsville, and you
Yeah.
traded like a bunch of cards that I had zero. I thought there's zero chance this guy is going to take Marvel cards from the 70s or 60s.
Yeah, it was from the 1966
Yeah,
Marvel superheroes, Donruss Marvel superheroes.
and he took him. And I was like, wow, Doug's
Yeah,
like, he found a Honus Wagner a card or pin, whatever you want to call it, but a card that's really cool, and he traded a card, a bunch of stuff that I would say very few dealers would be as interested in that as a Honus Wagner, but you did a good job, and were able to swing a deal, and it's just great.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I was very pleased about that one.
just
Yeah, this one here I picked up this year also. Um, this is a very tough back. It's probably one of the tougher. This is the Block and Cool back. I think the pop on them there's only two of them, and when it came up, I pretty much had to jump on it right away. I also
oh,
got
yeah,
yeah, there
oh,
it is.
yeah, there's the block and pull back,
Cool.
yeah.
And so, when an opportunity rises, you have to jump on it. I was fortunate enough to sell a card that I would have liked to have kept for my collection, but it just got to the value point where I could do a lot of damage in my own collection. And so I used those funds to support my Joe Wood habit this year.
Well,
So
I think there's a lot of yeah. I mean, the thing is like I love like like the depth of your collection too. I know this Addie Joss card. I think you picked this up in Strongsville as well, right?
I did, yes, yeah. Had a couple of YouTubers helped push me to go ahead and get it. They knew that I was very interested in it, and so I was glad that they were there to help me, give me the push to do it.
Now, so this card here, this Hans Lobar card, is it from the same set?
Yes, it's the M101-2. It's
Okay.
the Sporting Life supplemental set, which I really, really like. And then the Hans Lobert, I kind of side collect him. I have a collection of Glory Other Times players that's featured in the book that I've been working on, and he's one of the really interesting stories of the book. And it was a really, really decent player, and he was the captain of the 1919 Cincinnati Reds that won the World Series against the Black Sox.
The
really good player.
And again, going back, I know you love the Ferguson Bakery.
Yeah, I was able to pick this one up, another new color to my Joe Wood Rainbow, and that's another one of my big projects for the year, was to add a couple more. I just sent one off, a new color that I just sent off to SGC to have submitted. And
so how many colors do you have now?
I have 5.
Wow. How many colors are there?
Well, I'm working on that. I'm thinking in the range of around 8 different colors.
Wow.
I just, there's no way to pinpoint which players have which different colors. I've been trying to catalog it. I've looked back through auction houses and looked through, and I know that there's still about 3 more colors that I have physically seen, or I've seen pictures of, that have sold in auction houses that I still need. So
that is, yeah. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, if I pick up 1 or 2 a year, I'm good.
Yeah, I know. I'm going through some of your. I remember when you got this card, the Grow.
Yeah, I think I surprised you on that one, didn't I?
Yeah, that was like a stealth purchase. I'm like, wait, turn around for 1 second, and you got a Cracker Jack card. What's going on? And it's like, and I'm so used to you taking like a long time to make a purchase and kind of like really, living through the purchase, and it's like, oh, like boom, you got this one right away.
It was like a 3-minute deal.
Yeah.
Well, that was actually a card that I was looking for, and I was really surprised to see it, especially in the condition that it's in and the eye appeal that I prefer. So yeah, there was not much thinking about that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really cool though. Like, again, I really enjoy the diversity that your collection has, and also like, like just, going back to like how you used to collect, very similar items like me, in terms of like the 50s and 60s and 70s cards, and you've gotten into these really focused collections, but just how they all really, I feel like when you show them all together, they really, it creates a great picture, like a lot of cool paintbrushes and colors coming together.
Yeah. This is the only T3 that I have in my collection. It's
Which
the
I think is
Honda.
kind of crazy. I would think you'd have more, but I also think too, like if Joe Wood had
Oh
these
yeah.
cards, you would already have them.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. What's your number one card that you're sad that Joe Wood doesn't have?
Um, I'm really sad that he's not in the T205 or T206 set, because that
Yeah.
would be an early card of him, and I'm just yeah, I'm saddened about that.
Do you think
And then
that?
there's a lot of sets like when you collect Chief Bender, he's in just a ton of early 1909, 1908, 9, 10 sets that Joe Wood is not in. I
Yeah,
mean, that would
I
make
always
me
kind of weird too because he was such a good player. It wasn't like he was a player who had let's say a marginal career to where being in a set would make sense for him, not, or to exclude him would make sense.
right. Yeah, it baffles me.
Cards, this year for me, like I was able to buy and get cards that I felt like were um really part of collections. I collect a certain amount of players like Frank Thomas and King Griffey Jr. and you know so getting some of the really harder to get cards, and I'm very focused with Griffey on the refractor. So going through some of these cards here, you know, these are some of the harder, more expensive, Griffey refractors that are out there, all numbered to 100 or lower. And again, most of these came all pretty much at the same time. And so, getting these were kind of like the last barriers for me to kind of feel like I can actually complete the set. There's, I believe, 229 unique King Griffey Jr. refractors from the 90s, and I'm down to 9. I need 9 Griffey
Wow.
refractors to get every refractor from the 90s of King Griffey Jr. This card, the man card for example, is one of the cards that is incredibly hard. It's numbered out of. It's going to focus. Maybe not. Out of 75. Kind of see it there. This was a major pickup for me in the National. This card itself is kind of turned into a big holy grail in the Griffey community. And so one of the cards I need for next year, that's kind of the next holy grail for me, is the 98 Bowman's Best Atomic Refractor. And it's pretty much in the same category as this card in terms of holy grails. So it's like you're so close but so far away. There's certain cards that I'm going to take probably almost a lifetime to get. This is probably one of my favorite cards of all time of Griffey. This established that rainbow color pattern. So for the Griffey side of it, I really was able to fill a lot of tough holes. Like, never thought I was able to get near the amount of Griffey cards this year I was able to get. On a good year for me, I get maybe 1 to 2 of those kind of cards. A refractor number to below to 100 or less. A couple years ago, those were like $1,200 to $2,000 cards. They've gone to $4,000 to $5,000 each. The man refractor is probably going to be eventually a 5-figure card. The 98 Bowman's Best is already a 5-figure card. So again, these cards are starting to really go up in value to the point where it's just so hard to get one, And for me to get, I think, 4 of them in 1 year is pretty cool. But I did sell a collection or two to be able to have the money to do it. So it kind of all hit at the same time. Like, I had the opportunity plus the cards I was willing to sell to make it happen. But yeah, I don't feel like next year I'm going to be like able to top what I did this year in terms of Griffey cards, but I do feel like if I get one or two more cards in that same vein of the final 9 I need, if I get one or two next year, I'll be very happy. Because they're so hard to pick up and get that, just getting one or two of them a year now is an accomplishment.
Jason, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So do you think we were talking about how good the card community was? Do you think you would have been able to pick up these big cards at the Nationals if it hadn't been for the card community?
No, the only card I would have been able to pick up would have been the Centurion card. Everything else was cards that were walking around the show in dealer and collectors' hands. In fact, 2 of those cards were graded at the show.
Yeah.
So they were brought in by a collector, graded at the show, offered up to the community, and because I'm not a grade snob, I was able to buy the cards because if they had graded higher, they were already spoken for amongst the community, and so I lucked out by them actually grading lower to have the ability to buy them, because in the modern community, there's guys who only collect cards in certain grades still. So I was able to get those cards because they graded an 8, which I'm on these kind of rare cards now. I don't care what grade they get, really. I mean, I used to really bother me if it was like a modern card below a 9. Now I don't care. I feel like they're rare, they're hard to get, they're expensive. If it saves me a couple $1,000s, I'm all for it. If it's an 8 versus a 9, I think I'm at the point now where I don't really care. If I get a 98 Bowman's Best Griffey and it's a PSA 4 and it looks nice, I probably will be very happy with it if it's in my collection, because that's one less card I'll need to get. But I do feel like the community itself, without what your other rephrase is, without the community's help, I would never ever get the cards. I think they would have sold privately,
right,
with me ever knowing about them. And so yeah, and the thing is like when those cards do appear on eBay, you're competing against the world, right? Versus like maybe 2 or 3 other collectors in a room. So it does kind of help keep it in focus. Is like it is a very special thing to be offered cards in a private setting versus having to compete against.
Yeah, cuts down your competition.
100%. Now you may still pay. And the joke was I overpaid for those cards comparatively to what they were selling for at the time. But that's the option, right? You either, one of these things we talk about is, comps and shilling. If you're willing to overpay a little bit, you get the chance to buy the card without someone else, because who knows, there could have been another person who said, hey guy, I'll give you more than he's willing to give you.
Yeah,
right?
There's always
happen. You don't know what someone else is willing to do to get a rare card. You can say you overpaid, but some guy could be willing to pay even more because they know like they may not come up for sale very often. So again, I think you have to take that opportunity. And if it's a reasonable deal, looking at what the last one sold for may not be the best solution to if you really want to get the card.
Right.
Always looking at that last sold is sometimes not going to get you the card. And I've seen people hold out for years looking for the card because they want it to be at a certain price point or grade. And I'm like, I think at some point you kind of have to give up on one or the other. Like maybe you can't get the grade you want, or you may not be able to get it at last comp.
Yeah.
But on but the thing is like I picked up some, I had really kind of given up on Bender for a little bit. Even sold a few Bender cards, and now this year I got back into it. And I'm not blaming Doug, but I do feel like his passion did kind of rub off. He's able to get a Bruner's Bread Bender, which I love the card. It's one of those sets that the Cy Young and the Ty Cobb in that set are just really cool. The Honus Wagner.
You got to show the back of that card because the back of the card is as nice as the front.
Yeah,
I just love the back of those.
Yeah, it's such a cool card. Here's a card I picked up. It's not a great condition card, but I bid on one of these cards in a previous auction, and I love the game in the auction. And I lost it, so I felt like it was good enough. It still has good eye appeal. It's not cut, perfectly, but still presents really well. And so I like that. The baseball bats, I think they're a cool. And then this one, I picked this up, the E103. Again, not a high grade, but these cards are incredibly hard to find. They don't come up for sale very often.
Now you got the Eddie Collins this year also, right? The E103
Yeah.
Eddie Collins.
Yeah, that's actually getting graded, I think.
Yeah. We hope.
Here's one I picked up just recently. The E104, the Nausea Caramel blank back. I definitely want the world champion version of this card. You don't see those cards come up for auction very often. I like that both the Eddie Collins and the Bender. Again, this is the blank back. I think it's one of the prettiest caramel cards ever made. Honestly, like they are tremendous eye appeal on these cards, and I also like there's different colors too for different teams. Like they really mix in the colors. I was able to get my 14 Cracker Jack Bender this year, and I think it's a great two. I really do. It's hard to see with the camera, but there you go. It really presents well.
It does.
I'm not sure. I don't even think it has a mark on the back. It doesn't have a pinhole. It's got creases there, but I mean, honestly, like for two, that's about what you would hope for. In a card like that. Really good eye appeal. I did get my T227 back. This is one of the cards I did sell. But this card's a much nicer version of my T227 than I had originally. So I think I upgraded. It's a very nice two. It's well centered. It does have a kind of a sloped angle cut there, which PSA hates nowadays. This is the miner's back as well.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit tougher than I forget what the other back is. I picked up a few of the the Melomet. This was a big pickup. Of course, same front, but it's got the amazing Melomet back. One of the cooler. I love when there's colored backs. Like they just don't happen that often. The colored ink backs.
Yeah, the Melomet are
nice. They are nice. And here's a very similar card with the Nausea Caramel back. Again, a very different back. So it's like, again, but a very cool. But you can see just the difference in those two cards. And the thing I always thought was cool about them is they're the same card, but they're different orientations for the back. I just think that's really cool. That the Melomet they did a horizontal back.
These are the type of sets that I was hoping that Joe would have been in.
Right, I understand. I mean, and for me with Chief Bender, it's like it's almost you're penalized because he's in all these sets. It's like to get every Chief Bender card is almost impossible.
Right.
I was able to complete my my Moses Yellow Horse set. So here is the 23 Z-Nut that I picked up at the National and got graded. Kind of focus in maybe, but really tough card. Again, blank backs on the Z-Nuts. Here's the Z-Nut you kind of tipped me off on, and I got it graded at the National. So this is the 24.
Nice.
Which I just love that card. And then, obviously the one for me as a Pirate fan, the exhibit here, showing him in the full Pirate uniform. Just a really cool card.
Now that's is that from the 22 exhibit?
Yes, 22 exhibit.
Yeah, that's a tough card. You find a
And
lot of the 21 exhibits, but the 22s are a lot tougher.
yeah, and I actually picked this up, and I want to say REA. One of the big auction houses. I was able to pick that up. Um, Now here's the card that I know you like that I picked up, the Pinkerton exhibit, Chief Editor.
Absolutely.
And man, I had to go to town on this card. This card I almost gave up on. And the only reason I got it because Doug's like, man, you got to get the Pinkerton. Like, get the Pinkerton. That's the card you need to get. And so,
Yeah.
like, I had to go toe to toe in an auction. Like, this was one. There were some really determined bidders wanting to get this card.
Yeah.
It's a 5, but it's a great card. I love the card too. I mean, it's a great pose. It's a blank back, which I kind of like on the postcards. But I kind of like the blank backs, honestly.
Well, Pinkerton's tough by itself, but when you get a 5 grade, that's.
Well, I was getting the Bruner's bread at the same auction, so I was like, at one point I'm like, I'm just going to have to give up on one because they're both going up so much. But I stayed with it because you're like, man, don't lose the Pinkerton, like. So like I stuck with it. I'm glad I did. Then here's my only Ferguson Bakery card I have. I don't know what color you would call this, but it's either yellow or orange. I can't really, it's hard to tell. It's a little faded.
Yep, I'm really partial to those.
But that is, but I definitely would like to get my my rainbow going on the Bender, and the Bender actually doesn't come up very often for sale.
No, it does not.
It's I've seen a few. I've seen maybe 3 colors since I've started looking at them, but it's just odd, like because he's so popular, you just think that there'd be a lot of Benders, because you sometimes see they come up for auction sometimes. You're like, oh, this player, and Bender doesn't seem to be one of the players that is very common. And then this is a card that I picked up that I think is my personal favorite of the year, of like wild cards to pick up. I said I didn't pick up very many wild cards.
Beautiful.
But, T214 Fatima, Rubmar card, and I love this set. This is probably one of the few cards when I saw it at the National, I just could not walk away. I was just like, this card is exceptionally cool.
Yeah, that's an exceptional high grade for that card. Usually they're really brittle and they chip and crack, and it has a real glossy finish that likes to crinkle.
Yeah, it really stands out. And the thing about it too, and again, they got this beautiful back. That Fatima cigarette back is just, it makes it, where when you get these cards, like, it adds to that front. It's just like, it's cool on the front, cool on the back, and it's probably the card when I picked up the National I had the most comments on in terms of like, that's a cool card. Like, it's not like super expensive. It's just that's a cool card like that.
Well, like a 3 is a high grade in those cards.
Now, my most recent pickup is from Mr. Doug here, talking about Rubmar card. I did get this in the mail last week, or this week, I guess. So I was happy to pick up this T207 from my buddy Doug. So that goes into my big pile, and again, last but not least, I mean, I did pick up a couple of T5s. I have a little more T5s than Doug, and these are hard to display. But here is my Walter Johnson, and it's a 1.5. I picked this up before the National, and then my other big one. This was my big National. It's weird to say this is the big National pickup because I picked up so many cards, but the Cy Young.
Nice.
And it's a really nice Cy Young. It's hard to be like, to say you had like a bad National when you get to go home with a card like this. That and then and, I still at PSA I have the Eddie Collins. So I'll have the T3 Eddie Collins coming in, and then um, you know on the Eddie Collins front, I picked up both the book cover and the no book cover and the T3. So both of those are at PSA, hopefully getting graded right now.
I think PSA has them held for ransom.
Yeah, I'm not sure when those are going to be back, but when I get them back, I definitely will show them off. But I do feel like I was able to really pick up some cards that to me just make more sense to me as a collector, and I think that makes me happier to look at cards in my collection and be like, oh, that card makes sense to have just in the collection versus I call like the random like Frank Robinson card, right, or just the random Brooks Robinson card, which I think and I always feel like people get really defensive about collecting when you say I don't collect this something anymore. I sold off that collection, but you do the same thing. You sold off, and I do feel like it's okay to sell things off and buy other things, and it doesn't mean that the things that you bought before were bad. It's just you move on. But again, this is a good example. Like this kind of collection, I look at this card. I believe there's a Grover Alexander in this set too, right?
One just sold in Love of the Game auction last night.
And they are incredibly expensive.
They can be, yes. And the Walter Johnson is probably the big boy in that.
So yeah, like again, I get this card. I'm like, oh, I'll do the set. Then Doug's like, well, there's a Walter Johnson and a Grover Alexander in that set that are all 5-figure cards. So those are big cards. And but like on the T3 set, I mean, I do have the Johnson, the Cy Young. I mean, I could definitely look at getting. I definitely want the Mathewson, and after that, it's what Cobb, and then
Cobb. Yeah,
and then you're pretty much on the downhill. But there's so many Hall of Famers in that set, so it's like you can't be like, well, I'm done. I got the Cobb. It's like now you got another 35 Hall of Famers. After that, but no, and I'm excited to and the cool thing about these, again, I didn't show off the back on the T3s. Like the turkey red back is really cool.
Yeah.
Much cooler than the checklist back. Which I believe the Cy Young is the checklist back. Yeah. So, yeah, 76 players. And could you imagine what the Honus Wagner would bring in that set? Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
That's another guy too. I mean, Honus Wagner, I mean, he was in a lot of sets, but he could have been in some of these other sets and they would just like, could you imagine a T214 Honus Wagner or something like that?
No, awesome. That'd be awesome.
It would, and that's what I'm saying. Like Joe Woods is missing a lot of sets, and again, I'm thankful that Chief Bender's in all these sets, so that's a double-edged sword. But I do feel for you as a collector, like you're missing out on all these cool cards.
Right.
But so I think, overall, Doug, I think we both had really fun years. And I know like when we go back and look at how we did filling in our top 10 of the year, I think we'll both do pretty well. I have a sneaky suspicion that you did better than me, though. I think you may have checked a few more off than I did, but I think it'd be fun to see who did better at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think we both did great.
Well, I appreciate the conversation.
Very thankful. Very thankful.
Me too. I think this is collecting wise. This has been a fun year. I mean, it's hard to beat, honestly. I mean, the high of getting my 68 3D Clemente. I think it's like when you have I hate to call it a God card, just a card that has ruled your life for years where you never thought you were going to get it, and then you finally get it. It's hard to like be like, well, that's a repeatable every year kind of event. I'm not going to compare this year to that. I would just say that from just a breadth of collecting. Like that was a one card pickup. This
Sure.
this year has been much more focused on a lot of different cards and sets. And I think this year, from that side of it, it has been one of the most fun years I've ever had collecting. And you've been a big part of it. So I thank you, Doug, for really
Well,
helping me along.
I've had fun with the journey too. So
And but I feel like next year is going to be even more fun. And I think the good thing about it too is you can't predict what's going to happen. And I think that's the fun part of the hobby is you go with the plan, and all of a sudden, whatever opportunities and cards come up, and then it kind of makes your year. But like this card wasn't on my list, but I
right.
have it. And the National, I wasn't looking for this card. I was looking for the Mathewson.
Yeah. Not one
And
single Mathewson at the Nationals.
just kind of odd. Don't you feel like that's just so weird that card is so hard to get? Because I don't think it's a short print. It's just people love it.
It's just popular. It's just very popular.
Just super popular.
Yeah.
But it's like that Cy Young card I picked up. It was E90-1.
Yes.
It's like not rare, but people love it, and so
Right.
they just hoard it, and no one wants to sell it.
Yeah.
Such a great card. So, but I appreciate the conversation, Doug, and hopefully you have for the remainder of the holidays. If we don't do another video, I know we're going to do one at the beginning of the year, but hope you and your family are safe and really enjoyed having a good year with you.
Yes, I've had extreme joy over the whole season, and I think we both did very well with our goals, and I'm very pleased and very thankful.
Well, me too. All right, man. Well, I'll talk to you later and have a great remainder of the year. If I don't see you on this video, I know we'll talk. We're always on social media, so we'll be talking there at least.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.